Welcome, folks. Welcome to another Let's Talk. Now, for this one, I felt like to talk about something a little nostalgia. I want to talk about arcades. Now, why is this conversation coming up? Well, partly it's nostalgia, but also my good buddy Spinner went to Japan recently, and he was telling us about the old Akihabara place we used to hang out when we were in Japan. About like one of the buildings that housed a lot of arcades closed, and I think he also said that Sega is no longer running those arcades anymore, but someone else is. It's kind of brought me in a bit of nostalgia when I was thinking about this. I was thinking, when I was younger. Now, if you were born in the 70s, 80s, or 90s, you were probably played in an arcade, sometime in your life. You had to. Because it's really, I'm happy to hear that like the arcade scene is not dead, because even in my local shop mall we have an arcade and bowling alley, which is kind of good. But when you find out that it's very very rare you see these kind of arcade things these days, it is kind of sad, because you see arcades back in the day were like the place to be. People would go to those arcades just to hang out, chill out, make friends, have fun. But nowadays, arcades rarely, a lot of people you don't hear people say, let's go to the arcades and have fun, because it's kind of the thing now that, because, we got consoles and PCs now, why bother going to the arcades? I mean, yeah, true, you can, emulate a lot of the arcade games through emulation, but it's not as fun as when you're like out there playing, arcade games. Because, I remember a time when I was younger, when I went to like this laser quasar in the next town. Now, for those of you who probably know as laser tag, we call them laser quasar here in the UK. And I remember there was a laser quasar next town. It was in like an old warehouse building where they would have loads of arcades and the laser quest area. And while you're waiting for your game to come up, you would go out and play, some arcades. I remember one time it was like we had this collection of games. You had Outrun Racer, another racing game, Time Cop, but the main four that cabinets were used constantly was Mortal Kombat 2, Street Fighter 2, which I think was Champion Edition version, along with Killer Instinct and Primal Rage. And I remember a time when there was queues of kids, who want to play the game, and I remember the old way they used to play it was like one person put the pound in to play the challenge story. Then someone would challenge them, and if they won, like the kid, if like say they want to put the first pound in one, he would stay on. The other guy would have to leave, and it would keep going. Some people would get a lot of like value out of their pound. Some might not. It was one of those things they did back then where people would enjoy and have fun. Sorry about that, I had to have a quick drink. But the thing is, though, I mean, I do miss those days, when you could just hang out in the arcades, have fun. And the good thing is, arcades are not dead, because not only have we got, like I said, the whole thing with the emulators, but we're also seeing companies now start to make, arcade replica cabinets. Like, for example, we've seen personally, I've seen some arcade cabinets of the old Star Wars games, some of the old fighting games. Heck, even Killer Instincts had an arcade cabinet, redone in recent years. And it is happy to see that, this kind of thing is still going on, where we're seeing these kind of, cabinets, making returns. I know this is a bit of a nostalgia rant, guys, but I kind of want to give you guys a little bit of history about, gaming, because whether we like it or not, arcades are our history. They are our history, because without those arcade cabinets and arcades, we would not have games today. It's because of them we do have the games today. I mean, sure, we can now talk online, we can play online, we can face anyone in the world. But the thing about the arcades were back in the day, were like people would get together, have fun, have a laugh, and have fight for bragging rights. It was the thing back then. But yeah, even when you went on holiday, there was some places that had like arcades. I mean, I've traveled around and I've been to America, I've been to Japan, I've been like over Europe, and I've been to many arcades around the world that some arcades were like ridiculously like great. Some were bare boned. Don't get me wrong. I mean, if you want the best arcade experience I've had, it's in Japan and in Florida when I was at iDrive. If you know the arcade place I'm talking about, iDrive, back in the 90s, you probably know. But when I was also abroad in different countries, like in Cyprus, there was this little like there was like a hill in Ayia Napa that you go up, and there was like a full-on area where there were lots of arcade games, and loads of kids would go and play it from holidays. There was also another one in Ayia Napa again on a mini golf course, where there yet again would be loads and loads of kids playing on the arcades, like such games like Metal Slugger and all that. And I know this is sort of a rambling nostalgia thing, but I kind of feel it's one of those like nostalgia things where I feel that arcades still have a place in this modern era, because I know some people say they probably have no place in the modern era, but I disagree. I think they do have a place in the modern era. It's just the problem is that most of the games you see in the arcades these days are games you probably wouldn't see in a actual, console game, which is fair enough. But yeah, that's my little ramble and a little bit like nostalgia trip. Here's a question for you lot. Have any of you ever played in an arcade before? Have you ever been to an arcade place? And what arcade game did you love playing? Did you love a fighting game one? Did you love a racing one? A shooting one? Which one did you like? Leave a comment in the comment section below, and I'll see you all in the next video. Catch you later.